You are listening to the So Now What podcast with Lana Manikowski, episode number 184.
So now what? These three words raced through my mind time and time again during my journey through fertility treatments. I tried desperately to have a child, but never was able. I yearned for a community to join that could understand my struggles. I couldn't find one, so I created one with the So Now What podcast. I love that you found us.
Hello, beautiful. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. So excited that this week is World Childless Week. If you have never attended World Childless Week, let me tell you, you are going to want to attend one of the many events that is happening this week. Everything is virtual. Everything is free. And most especially, I'm excited to tell you about a webinar that I am hosting along with 4 other beautiful childless women who have awesome stories to share with you. All of us found childlessness for different reasons, for different conditions, circumstances, etc. So if you want to attend our webinar that I am leading, I am going to put a link to it right here in the show notes. Make sure you attend on Saturday, the 20th of September. It is at 8 a.m. Central Time in Chicago, 2 p.m. British Standard Time if you are in the UK. And then from there, you're just going to have to figure out the other time zones because there's way too many for me to figure out. And then also, I want to make sure that you are aware of the free masterclass that I am teaching this week, Wednesday, all about the things people say when you are childless, how to respond to them, but more importantly, realizing that there's more than responses and canned answers. There is so much more to talking about the things people say when you're childless. I have so much to tell you, and I would love for you to join. I am going to put a link for you to sign up for free right here in the show notes. I hope that you join because it's really important for you to show up in this life that turned out so differently than you thought. And exactly what I'm going to talk about in this week's episode about the story that we carry because we are childless. And you have been through some heartbreak. I have been through some heartbreak, and most people can't comprehend it. You wanted motherhood more than anything. You did everything you had access to doing or you knew how to do. Maybe it was doctor's appointments, fertility treatments, lifestyle changes, supplements, endless waiting. You gave your body, likely your time, your money, and your heart to the dream of becoming a mom. And still, despite all of it, you're here. I'm here, living a life without the child we thought we would have. And now, instead of celebrating milestones like first steps, soccer games, high school graduations, you are left trying to figure out what your milestones are going to be. You're learning how to navigate friendships that revolve around parenting. You're waking up in a life that you never imagined for yourself and likely wondering, what is next? So now what? Exactly the whole premise of this podcast, of my best-selling book, So Now What? There are so many questions that have come up in our lives that we don't have the answers to. Nobody has helped us navigate. And somewhere in all of that, this story of you and your life got pushed into the shadows. And you've probably learned how to hide from your story because so much of it hurts and it hurts to tell it. And maybe it's because people don't really understand the depths of what you and I have been through. Maybe it's because you're exhausted of the comments, of the you can always adopt, or at least you don't have to wake up early on Saturday type comments. So what do? You do what feels easiest to you. You stay quiet. You nod. Maybe you just give this polite smile. Maybe you change the subject and you might hide, which I'm not saying that from a place of judgment. I am saying it from a place of I have been there too. You hide because it feels easier in the moment. But what that does is it shrinks you. It convinces you that your story is too heavy It's too sad. It is too complicated. It teaches you to believe that silence is safer than the truth. And what I want to talk about today is the wake-up call that hiding is never, ever going to create this life that you are craving. What I want you to focus on today is how to feel proud of you, because I know this may sound impossible right now. Proud of infertility, proud of being the only childless one in your group, proud of, and I'm saying this in air quotes if you are watching me on YouTube, proud of failing fertility treatments. And what I say to you is, yes, proud. Proud that you tried. Proud that you showed up cycle after cycle. Proud that you made decisions that no one could have ever made. Proud that when you realized it was your time to stop, you had the courage to choose yourself and choose your future. Now, let me tell you, your story is not one of failure. Your story is one of strength, one of focus. And I want you to start seeing it that way. And when you begin to see it that way, everything in your life is going to start to shift. I have had countless people, whether it's through coaching with me, whether it's joining me in person at Others Day, tell me that I exude confidence, that I exude this calmness of my life when I talk about being childless and being infertile and spending 7 years dedicated to creating something I never could. And what they don't see is that didn't fall out of the sky and just knock me on the shoulder and say, hey, now is your time to feel confident. What I did and what I want to help you acknowledge that you can do is owning your story. Because when you own your story, instead of hiding it, you unlock this whole new way of being in your life. You stop apologizing for not being a mom. You stop allowing yourself to feel like an outsider amongst your friends with kids, because you learn that your friendships don't have to revolve around what you don't have in common. You stop fighting your body and looking at it like a failure and start to reconnect with it. And you stop looking at the next 40 or 50 years of your life with this dread of, what am I going to do when I get older? What am I going to do when everyone around me becomes a grandmother and here I am, the outsider again in my life? What am I going to do when the end of my life comes and I think that I am going to die old alone in a nursing home? So what happens when you start telling your story, not from a place of dread, but you start to imagine you can create milestone after milestone in your life. And you start to realize that your life did not include the children that you dreamed of, yes, but it can still be meaningful and it can still be purposeful. It can still feel rich and whole because this is available. No one has probably ever given you an opportunity to think that this is attainable and within reach for you, but it is. And I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine walking into a room and not flinching when somebody asks, do you have kids? You answer in a way that feels calm, a way that feels grounded, and then you move on because the question no longer is holding power over you. Imagine telling someone you met recently about years of fertility treatments and watching their eyes fill with respect for you instead of pity. Imagine hearing other women whisper, me too, because you had the courage to tell your story. You gave yourself permission to come out of hiding too. Imagine feeling free enough with your story and your journey to make plans for your future, plans that excite you, not because you need to replace motherhood with these things, but because they bring you the meaning and joy into your life right now. That is the power of owning your story. Right now, You might feel like hiding is what you need to do, and that is okay. Up until this point, hiding may have been the only way you knew how to cope. But I want you to see that it does not have to stay that way, because when you keep hiding, what you're doing is robbing yourself of the chance to feel free, to feel that ease, to feel that power and that freedom. It is going to begin the moment you decide that your story is worth telling. And I'm not telling you that you've got to go share your story with the whole world. You don't have to put it on social media. You don't have to tell it on a podcast like I do every week, or tell a stranger that you meet. But what matters is that you stop hiding from you. And that is something that most women don't even know how to start doing. No one tells you how to do it. You have probably been doing it and thinking that this journey after infertility ends without a baby, you have to do alone. Because the moment you start to realize that the truth about your infertility story is something beautiful and worth reciting, you are no longer going to want to stay silent. You are no longer going to listen to that whisper in your ear that says, oh my gosh, you don't want to make other people uncomfortable. It's too heavy. No one will get it. Everyone is going to try to fix me. And when you realize that that is not how it always has to be, you're going to start telling your story all the time. That is one of the very first things that I help my students do and my clients do in my mastermind, Thrive After Infertility. I help them guide through how their story is landing with them now and what the story is that they've been telling themselves. Do they like that story? And then from there, together, we create the words that feel true for you, that feel true for a future that isn't scripted, that's not polished, but full of self-respect and full of acknowledgement for what you have been through. And the story that makes you lean forward and lift up your chest and put your shoulders back and guide with confidence and lead with confidence. Because the truth is, you were left on your own. And when you hear this, you might say, oh my gosh, how in the world is this even possible? Well, when you learn to tell your story, it stops being something that drags you down and it starts being the very thing that sets you free. And once that happens, that's when you start to learn how to forgive yourself, how to forgive your body, how to start feeling connected to your friends or maybe your family members or coworkers that are giving you updates about their kids and the things that once made you feel like you were such an outsider. And that is when you finally stop dreading the years ahead and start imagining what you want to create. So let me leave you with this. There is absolutely nothing more beautiful than telling your story, not because it's perfect, not because it has a happy ending, but because it's yours. You tried, you loved, you hoped, you lost, and you are still here. And that is worth honoring, and that is worth being proud of. And the moment you stop hiding is the moment you begin to feel that freedom that you've been craving. So I hope you have a beautiful week. I love you, and remember that it's never too late to discover your meaning. I'll talk to you next week. Hey, real quick. I just wanted to tell you about an awesome resource I created. If you have ever found yourself in conversations with people, or maybe people offering you suggestions about what you should do to become a mom, it's called The Top 27 Things People Say When You're Childless and How to Respond. You can get your copy free at lanamanikowski.com/thingspeoplesay.